Hey, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. I'm Rick Plaskett, a certified business and leadership coach here in Columbus, Ohio. Today, I've got Elizabeth McCormick, the owner of UNIGLOBE Travel Designs, as my guest. Today, we're going to talk with her about her business challenges and the practices and, share a peek into what it's really like to build and operate a successful business. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to like and subscribe, get notifications to other videos that are just like this when they drop. So Elizabeth, welcome and thank you for being here with us today. If you'd get started, would you share just a brief overview of your background and a little bit about your business for the audience?
Okay, sure, absolutely. So I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, in Bexley. And went to school first through eighth grade, and then I went to the Wellington School for high school, and grew up traveling. And my parents loved to take my sister and I on trips, and there's something about having a global perspective and seeing the world, right? And really being able to create, a really cool experience when you're traveling. So it's always kind of been in our blood, right? Just to travel and entrepreneurship as well. And so I went to Spelman College in Atlanta, and then I had a career in retail. So I lived in San Francisco, lived in Miami, Florida, and then lived in New Jersey, commuted to New York City. So I was working for Gap corporate office, headquarters is in San Francisco. There was a corporate office in Miami. And then my last stint in retail was working for Bono, the lead singer of U2. And I was his production manager of his clothing line called Eden. And so at the time I was traveling all over the world. My mom, bought this travel company in the 90s, and we have this conversation. It's in 2005, and she's saying to my sister and I, hey, I'm going to sell the business and travel with your father. My dad, who was an ophthalmologist, he had sold his practice to another group of ophthalmologists here in town. So they're getting ready to travel. And my sister and I said, hold on, don't sell the company. We want to try our hands at entrepreneurship. So that's how we got here. So I moved back to Columbus in 2006 and really was trying to understand the market. I spent just time understanding the National Association of Women Business Owners, NAWBO, Weld. I was a part of a networking group called The Tip. The name has since changed, but it was a great training for me because every Friday morning I would drive up to Polaris Parkway and I would talk about my business, right? It's like that 30-second speech of what you're trying to communicate. And that was really helpful because you have to be able to speak about your business. It's not salesy, it's about the relationship. And the one thing that I think I realized, and I wish I would have realized it earlier, but I live by it now, that I'm not for everybody, and I'm okay with that. Right. So you have to understand, like, you're looking at customers and you're looking at growing your business and with employees and with teams as well, like that there's that reciprocity, right? This reciprocal relationship where we're working together, and that we're achieving and driving towards the same goal. So, again, being confident enough, just saying, hey, look, like sometimes maybe this isn't the right fit for somebody, but there's somebody else who I will match with, right? And I think owning a business, you need to feel comfortable and confident in that. Every client that's out there, an opportunity may not be the right one for you, but being okay, right? And being resilient and understanding that there's another door that's going to open that'll be even bigger and better than what you thought. Sorry, that was a
Well,
long answer.
no, that's a great answer. And just for the audience, Elizabeth, you're doing more than okay. You've been in business for what, 18 years now?
Well, we were, let's see, we were the first UNIGLOBE opened in the US in 1981. And then I joined my mom in the company in 2006. So yeah, for
Okay.
18 years I've been here. That's right.
Awesome. Awesome. So in that long journey, let's come forward to today and tell
Okay.
us a little bit about the role that you play in the business today.
Okay. So today I'm the CEO of the company, um, really the visionary, driving the business, the growth, scalability, technology. So there are different things that I thought were really important. This is kind of interesting. So in February of 2020, so this is right before COVID like blows up, we had a meeting, a leadership meeting. We brought in this consultant and my leaders, and I flew them in from, they were all in Georgia at the time. A few of them were, and then my Columbus leaders got together and we are talking about things that we wanted. And one of the things that I wrote down was technology, that we need to have a technology department. And I knew that was something that was critical. And I wanted to have in-house tech specialists that could build these online sites. And so just I'm going to just take a step back for a second. So our business is 80% corporate, 20% leisure. And so what that means is that we service hospitals and universities and municipalities and private clients and law firms, and we have some entertainment clients as well. And then we have a leisure team. So we sell vacations and spring break trips and destination weddings and things of that nature. But I knew in the corporate space, knowing our business is 80% corporate, that we needed to have a tech team. So I'll fast forward to now, we actually have a tech team. We have 4 engineers. We build these websites in-house. So it's kind of funny that I had said that right before the world kind of went to a screeching halt because no one was traveling, didn't know what was happening with COVID. But that was something that I had talked about, right? And so I was like, I knew that that was critical. And so when we have a technology team, we prepay hotels. We have a prepaid hotel team. So for a number of our clients, if they're sending travelers, to Orlando or to conferences, they don't want those people to have to encumber those funds on their credit cards, right? So there's certain markets that you travel to, could be Las Vegas, could be Miami, could be LA, could be New York City, where oftentimes those rates, if you're attending a conference, can be a couple $1,000s that people have to hold on their credit cards. And so a lot of our clients, they don't want to do that. They don't want their road warriors to encumber that burden. And so we have a team of people that do that as well. So it's like I look at opportunities and see a need. Now, how can we make it easier for clients and also for the travelers? And so those are just different things that I was able to do kind of during COVID. Like we had offered the prepaid hotel service, but I knew it needed to be extended. I knew we needed more people because our business was still growing, right? Like despite the fact that people weren't traveling, I'm still talking to potential clients and I was still responding to RFPs and I was still, and then the thing that really, I think one of the things that happened that was pretty critical is that, people that I talked to before COVID, maybe some, corporate prospects, they weren't sure about working with me, but then being in COVID and then trying to find their travelers and sitting on the phone. And when the airlines were changing their rules every day, like you could get 30 or 40 emails from the major airlines because they weren't sure how they were going to deal. I think a lot of people realize like I need an expert. I need someone who can advocate for me, that can just pick up the phone and call their reps or, and take care of things. And that's been really eye-opening because you need that help. CrowdStrike happened. That was a nightmare when Southwest Airlines had their issue during the holidays a couple of years ago. Like people realize like just having somebody that can just take care of it is really is a perk and it's a gift and people see that and even more so, right? Because things are continuing to change. The UK now has different rules. If you want to enter the countries there, like do you have to have a specific visa? All these different things are happening. But just to have somebody that you can talk to, that you can trust, who will take care of it, is where we come in.
Yeah, absolutely. The security that's on my side and not on travel business side. I
Right.
love it. So, Elizabeth, in this role as CEO today, how would you break down the percentage of times that you're working in the business operations versus this strategic planning and visioning and whatnot? And oh, by the way, where can I buy your crystal ball? Because if you were doing this in February of 2020, your crystal ball seems to be spot on.
Right. Yeah, I would say I'd say 70 to 80% I'm working on it.
Okay.
Because I spent a lot of time hiring the right people, right, to take care of the day to day. So we've got, corporate team, we've got a lead, we have a lead of our leisure team, head of our prepaid team, technology, so and accounting. So we've got all of these key factors, but we have the leader. And I'm not a micromanager and I trust them. I will say that one thing that I spent a lot of time doing is researching like travel recruiters. So there's a company I work with, they're based in Los Angeles. And so I needed to make sure that the corporate consultants that I was hiring had that expertise in our reservation system. And so I spent a lot of time and still work with them and have to pay a significant amount percentage of the, the annual salary, but I'm getting top talent. And so it's I'm not worried about who these people work with because they already know they've got that VIP expertise and that care. So I don't worry. And I will tell you, pre-COVID, there were times that there were like certain clients that I wouldn't want right? Like I'd be like, oh gosh, like there's just this level of service that we need to deliver. I had some reservations about that, but now everybody who works for me, it doesn't matter. We don't like everybody knows how to provide that 5-star first class service, and that's what you want. And I always say, like, you're going to have to spend money to make money, but having your top talent, your top team that understands and your philosophy and understands we have to go above and beyond every time and can't be mediocre is what you need. So you have to pay for that, right? I mean, the thing is, like, and I think all of us know in a post-COVID environment, and it's the workforce has been it's there's a lot there to kind of understand, and how are we going to function, and are you working remote, and all these different things are coming up. Sorry, Rick, hold on. Sorry about that. Here in German Village, there's always something going on. But anyway, um, I think it's just it's different, but I think things are changing. And what I mean is, like, there are people that want to work for a company where, there's opportunity to grow, but also that where you're trusted. I'm not a micromanager, because I don't have to micromanage. We set it up right. So COVID gave me a lot of time to really think about, how do I want this organization to look, right? How do I want to move forward? And I think I really use that time, just to kind of get my ducks in a row, as my mom would say, right? And figure out, like, what do we want in an organization, and how do we take it to the next level? And so as we're bringing on talent, we're always looking at that. Like, we need to continue to elevate. We want people that are curious, that don't say that's not in my job description. It's like, let me figure this out. And I think we've done a much better job, bringing people on and implementing different best practices. We use the culture index now, which is, if we're looking for a particular position, then the key people that this person will work with, we fill out, a survey and check off what's really important to us. And then, so before we even bring in talent to even talk to a potential employee, if they don't score in the 80th percentile, we don't even interview them. So just thinking smarter, and not working so doggone hard, because when you hire somebody, it costs more money after you've trained them, and then you need to part with. So we're trying to put these different
Yeah.
metrics and processes in place, right, to be smarter when we're hiring people. So and we've gotten better, and we always look at, like, what's in the market. Is there something we need to consider? How should we be looking for talent? Things of that nature. So anyway, I'll pause.
Building no, 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 you're absolutely correct. Building a great team is building your future.
It is.
So if we can dive down a little bit into that, you've discussed all of the different pieces that you do to hire right.
Hmm.
Absolutely having uh, I don't want to say a personality profile, but understanding what's behind the answers that you're getting.
Hmm.
I learned long ago, you mentioned being in Atlanta. When I lived in Atlanta, I would take my clients on a business field trip to Chick-fil-A headquarters.
Okay.
And one of the times that we went there, one of my business owners asked them, how did you hire? Because it always seems like you have great people around you.
Hmm.
They came back and said Chick-fil-A hires on character first, chemistry second, and then capability. It sounds like you've got
Hmm.
a lot of that principles. You've
Hmm.
got those
Hmm.
pieces in there. So let's change a little bit, and Elizabeth, could you describe the leadership style that you possess right now, and maybe how that's changed over the last couple of years?
Well, I knew that if I want to grow the company, I've got to have people that are smarter than me in different aspects to take it to the next level, right? And so I'll just mention the one thing that I did that people probably thought it was kind of crazy during COVID is that I like to have options for clients. So we offer an online booking tool called Concur SAP, which I know everyone is familiar with, right? If you're ever traveled on behalf of an organization, or if you're an entrepreneur, most people use Concur SAP. But Deem came out, and Deem is an online booking tool that's backed by National Enterprise Rent a Car. And so I decided, I was like, I invested in it. I offered it to my clients, because we needed to have options for them. And I think that, and with that though, as I was bringing Deem on, I met an engineer for Deem. He was working, kind of as a contractor for Deem, and I ended up hiring him to work for me. So it was like, I knew that if I'm offering this technology, I needed to have an expert in that space. that knows the ins and outs, that has those deep relationships there. So of course he knows more about it than I do, but that's how you have to think about it when you're bringing on talent, right? And even with, we were having some challenges just with our HR and how was that going to be handled, and so hired somebody who was in like the food and beverage industry who, and one of the things that stuck out for me was this conversation we had. She said, my goal is to make people come back over and over and over again. And I'm like, and that's what the service industry is about, right? So she's going to think about things that maybe, I mean, I'm customer service focused, but she might have some ideas about things that I would never even think about, right? Because she's like, how do we create that stickiness? So it's about bringing in people. It doesn't have to be a one size fits all, right? But really look for good humans. And one of my therapists used to tell me when I was hiring people, and I still use this practice, you can determine whether or not you want to have a meal with them. That's how she's like, when you're hiring someone, if you like them, then your team will like them. The clients will like them. So it's just a way, it's kind of a simple thing, but that's how I really like to hire people. But you have to have integrity and be kind. And you'll laugh, but one of my mantras that I would say to people is that as long as it's not immoral or illegal, try it. So I want people to like try to figure out the answer, right? And I'm here to just provide, because sometimes as a visionary, you just know how to connect the dots faster. Sometimes when people are in the weeds, they don't understand. And I'm like, well, we had a problem with a hotel a couple weeks ago, the wind. So I just got on LinkedIn and found the one of the senior executives, sent him a note. He wrote me back and got it taken care of. So because we just think that way. It's like, how can we accomplish that there's an issue? I just don't like things lingering. I'm like, let's just settle this and then move on. Because it's oftentimes it's those simple things that really frustrate people. They kind of get paralyzed. And I'm like, no, I can do all the hard stuff, but sometimes for other folks that might be in that day to day, they see it as this big obstacle. And I'm like, no, let me just come in and just show you. And what happens is people just learn like, oh, I can do that, right? Because I'm not a control freak. I'm like, you have the liberty and the freedom to do things as long as it's not immoral or illegal.
Well, absolutely. And you shared with me once before, one of the superpowers of your company is the actual culture, and that
Hmm.
culture being built on a commonality of beliefs and values that enable you to understand the spirit behind what you're doing. Supporting risk taking with your people is a great thing when they understand and when you can be assured that they are looking at things from a similar value and belief standpoint.
Right.
They
Hmm.
they can come in with creativity of new things. So Elizabeth, besides yourself, how many other developing leaders are there in your team?
A really good question. I'd say there are five of us right now. And
Okay.
because we just elevated someone who's been here just for a year. And he takes his position seriously, so professional, and has just exceeded our expectations. So we just elevated him last week as a leader. So, the thing is, what's nice is that for all these, five or six different areas, there's a leader on for all of those. Because you have to have that. You've got to have somebody that everyone. So on the corporate travel side, on the tech side, on the prepaid side, Concur. So we've got all of those experts in each different area, which
What
is
area in all of those, if I were to be able to deliver some sort of training to you, what is the focus? And you mentioned technology, AI, but overarching, if you look into the future, 2025 and maybe the next 6 months, what area of training do you think would take your super team to championship level?
I mean, I think it's again customer service, but how can we get better? Always.
Okay.
And it was funny. I was on a prospect call this morning with a guy that his business is based in Cleveland, but he had talked to some of my competitors, and he was like, left a lot to be determined. And I know, because you've got to be genuine. And you do. And again, being secure enough to say, I'm not for everybody, but I'm okay with that, right? Because I was very respectful when I spoke with Tom this morning. He's talked to some other people in the industry. I'm like, that's great. This is what we offer and this is what we do. Um, but I just think we can always take it up a notch. And I don't ask my team to do what I will not do. Like I respond to emails within an hour, regardless if it's internal or external, because that's a difference maker, right? I had a conversation with a CEO Friday at 4:30. And what I appreciated about him is that I sent him an email Thursday night. It's about accounting, and I wanted to have a conversation with him. He places accounting professionals. And he wrote me back and he said, I'm available. Like, what works for you? And I said, you know what? I appreciate you taking that time. First of all, you responded to me and you're having a meeting with me at 4:30 on a Friday, like right before a big holiday. Thank you. And I do the same thing. And that's a difference maker, right? It's a difference maker because people like service in general, and all of us can talk about it, and anybody's listening to this podcast, it's changed dramatically. But the way that you
Mhm.
continue to become that championship team is by just exceeding people's expectations about doing like this is not the norm anymore to be responsive, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
this is how people will continue to exceed and grow, right? And we'll continue to be successful. We'll continue to bring on new business because of that service, that response time, being genuine, just telling people the truth. Like, hey, like based on what I'm seeing, we have different best practices. Like if you're traveling internationally, we want you to have probably a 3.5 to 4 hour layover, depending on where you're going in the world, right? Because things can go wrong. We don't book basic economy, which are those fares that sometimes are 20 or $30 less expensive on Delta, American, and United because they're restrictive for our clients. It's you use it or lose it. You can't change it. You may not get a seat assignment. You're not
Yep.
guaranteed to be on the flight. So it's just that kind of stuff. We have best practices, and people are asking us for those because we are always looking out for our clients. So,
And
I
I
mean,
think that's a key point
yeah,
is you've defined customer service and customer service long ago
best.
was a differential. Okay. We make fun of it. And I can remember as a little kid pulling up to a gas station and watching two, three people come out and service the car. Customer service used to be the differential. Post-pandemic, if we have a History Channel go back and look at the 5 years after pandemic, this is going to be the society of mediocrity. And so
100%.
when you do focus on that extra level, you're right. Not everybody's going to notice that. But those that do appreciate the value and being able to do that and do that consistently, do that dependably is absolutely a superpower in business, in any business, whether it's travel, but particularly in a service business such as you.
Right.
I'm sure that you've got, well, let me ask you this question. Do your people have any type of training in emotional intelligence? Recognizing that when one of those three or four events in travel happened, that the person that's calling you up is probably not in a nice, calm, emotional state. And
Yes.
so to recognize that emotion and fact sometimes are two separate things and they need to be addressed separately to get
Hmm.
to the solution that's best for them.
Right.
Do you have that type of
We do. We do. And then
awesome?
that's part of it, right? When we're looking for talent, just to ensure they have that because and sometimes, Rick, people just want to be heard. People just want to be
Yes.
heard. And then
Yes.
and then you can get to the bottom line and where you need to go. So I had a client that went on a trip, and what I appreciate is she's booked a number of trips with me, and she sent me a note and she said, hey Elizabeth, I want to talk to you, kind of had an experience, I want to share it with you. So we met up, that's in 29, and she was sharing some places where we missed the mark, and I appreciated that because that's how you get better. You can't be like, you can't always think that um, everything is going to go perfect. There's always a way to improve. But here was the thing that was really cool is that there was a first time traveler that used our company, and she was a little disappointed. However, I called her, left her a nice message of saying, I received your feedback, would love to, I understand that we can get better. And she and I are going to have this other client who's a first time experience with us. We're going to connect today. But as an entrepreneur, you just have to be willing to have those conversations, right? And I not get offended. I wasn't defensive. I was like, you know what? Everything you're saying, I agree with. It takes a big person to be able to do that. We can get better. And I think that both were really like surprised by that response. But I'm like, I'm not going to be defensive. Like, I listened. I wouldn't want, I it should have gone better. And that's how you need to, like, that's how you should approach business, in my opinion. It should have gone better. And let's make sure we don't make that mistake again. And that
Well,
you're open
remember
for
what
that.
I shared? Yeah, remember
Yeah.
when I shared or what I shared with you last time?
Hmm.
The greatest customer service questionnaire or survey
Yes.
is that, first question you ask in that event is on a scale of 1 to 10, how did we do? How would you value us? And then the second one is always that's the secret sauce is how can we earn a 10?
Right.
It
Exactly.
it
Exactly.
doesn't put anybody into a corner any
Right.
place. It opens it up.
Right.
And like you said, the power is in the listening, and then the power is in them believing that you're going to do something about answering that second part of the question.
Right. Right.
Absolutely. Super. Hey, listen, Elizabeth, thank you so much. And audience, we have certainly covered a lot of ground today in this conversation. If you haven't really captured the essence of Elizabeth's commitment to customer service, to culture, and that customer service is not just traveling customers, but her team as well. You can absolutely hear her passion in there and the level. And if you haven't grabbed a couple of great nuggets out of this, please go back and listen to it again. And so, as we wrap up today, I'd like to enter a section of what I call rapid fire questions. Just want real quick, Elizabeth, what's on the top of your mind, first thing to come out? You ready for that?
Okay.
It's easy. Trust me, it's easy and
Okay.
not going to hurt. Okay.
Okay.
First question is, what would you consider the key to your success?
No fear.
Awesome. What one piece of advice would you give to another business owner today?
A no leads to a better yes.
Wow, that's great. Okay, this is a little old school when I say what one book, but book, TED Talk, video is what are you reading now that you enjoy and would recommend to somebody else?
Wow. Okay. This is hard. I've been reading, I like reading fiction books because it kind of helps you just kind of escape a little bit. So I've been reading this author. Her name is Kristen Hanna. And I read probably one of the best books I've ever read in my life called The Nightingale. And so that's what it was just such a great book. She's a great author. And it's my way to escape. So one of my hobbies
Mhm.
is reading. But of course, and I'll just say on the business side, we're implementing traction. So EOS. But when I was thinking of like, and that's business and you're always looking at ways to get better and, you know, and how can you improve? And I incorporate that in my life too, but I just went to fiction book really
No,
quickly.
absolutely. Listen, it's adult recess should be something that everybody applies. Why
Right.
is it that kids are allowed to go on recess and they come back in a better mindset for the rest of the
True.
day? And
You're
yet,
right.
as soon as we're adults, we don't take adult recess.
Right.
Hmm. And you're in the perfect industry to provide adult recess. So
Right.
Elizabeth, if there was one area of your business that you could focus on and immediately improve, and tomorrow morning it would be fixed, what would that one area be?
Hmm. I think it's incorporating AI, right? And I keep doing a lot of research and reading, just trying to figure out where do we go from here, right? I mean, you can use AI. If you said, "Hey, I want to go to Rome. Can you plan this incredible trip?" You could do that with some tweaks because nothing is perfect. But on the corporate travel side, we're just trying to figure out how is that going to be integrated. So that's just what's keeping me up at night. Just trying to figure out what is that going to look like for us. And there are all these different conversations and all this new technology and startups that are coming out, but we just don't have a firm answer yet. So that's the one answer I would love to get so that I can offer this enhanced service to our clients.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. Hey, listen, before we get to the final question, I would like to ask you, would you please share with the audience if someone is watching this today and wants to get in touch with you about you representing their travel needs or
Mhm.
you representing their next vacation, how would you like them to contact you?
Yeah, so our website, of course, is www.uniglobetraveldesigners.com. We are on LinkedIn. Of course, we are on Instagram and Facebook as well. And then, if you like to pick up the phone and call, which I love to meet people in person, there's nothing better than having a relationship and really being able to read people's body language. So our local number is 614-237-4488, and then our 800 number, 800-966-6512. Would love to just talk about travel. One thing that I've noticed, Rick, and I told you this post-COVID, is that people are no longer waiting to take those bucket list trips. They're putting those in the forefront, but they want to work with a trusted partner who can ensure that the things go smoothly. You don't have to think about, is my car service picking me up? What time is the train? Just are the tickets purchased? Are we going to see the Louvre? Things like that. Like all that stuff is taken care of. And just want to mention, I love to talk to people about travel and their dream trips, and like to brainstorm and get people excited about seeing the world. Just it really enhances your life
Awesome,
significantly.
awesome. Yes, you create hope and imagination, and so
Right.
many adults put that so far down the priority list.
Right.
All right, thank you so much. Hey, last question for today. What is most inspiring to you today, Elizabeth?
Hmm. That's a hard question. I think it's staying curious. It's just inspired. Like I'd like to be around people that are curious. I like to be around, people that challenge me, that force me to level up. And that's what I get inspired by, seeing people like in understanding their story and how to get there. So that's what inspires me. Like that, I just feel like I'm just getting started and there's so much more. The best is yet to come.
Super, super. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your journey. And thank you to the audience for listening in today. We're always looking to bring you new and inspiring leaders. And Elizabeth, you absolutely hit both of those marks right out of the ballpark today. So, folks, if you found something that you like today, check in next time. Make it a great day, and bye for now.